So welcome to the fourth of our Executive Coach Mentoring webinars. Tonight is Monday the 18th of June, and I welcome Ian to speak with me about this last unit of study for the Executive Coaching course, Unit 13. So welcome to you, Ian, tonight.
Thanks very much, Suzanne.
Pleasure to have you with us, and I know you're getting through your studies, so this will be wonderful for you because you'll then have 3 months, I think, or nearly 3 months, to get to do this unit of study and be ready for that September workshop that we're having coming up.
Yes.
Okay, so I no need to do introductions. You've been on pretty much all of our webinars so far, so it's lovely to see you constantly coming through with your studies and growing personally, as well as from a business perspective as well, which you are doing. Good on you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what we're all on about, just for those who haven't been it before, is that would have been the introduction page, but we've passed that with you, so let's keep on going. So we've talked about executive coaching, and there's that definition that we've used all along the way. It's about working with executives at both their personal level as well as their professional level, and helping them succeed at business and take the next step, career-wise or opportunity-wise. So that's, I think, self-explanatory as well. We focus on, as you would in the strategic drivers within a business and looking at the strategic targets. You yourself, I think, subscribe to that with your own business, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
And very focused on that. So tonight we're going to look at the executive coaching model. You'll see this when you come to Unit 12. And we talked about the 3 parts to the model. First is that assessment and feedback.
Yep.
We start with some sort of a profiling instrument, whether the organisation has an instrument that they prefer or whether you have an instrument that you're accredited in. That's where we usually start to get some data.
Yeah.
You can get an evidence-based approach to coaching. Then we're either looking at coaching for performance, which is the main reason most of our people come to be coached, but sometimes it's simply for growth and development. They might, for example, want to change their career or enhance their career or get a promotion. So the model, I think, starts at this perspective here and particularly works into performance coaching. But if there's not a performance issue, it can go straight into growth and development. It's really up to you to look at the identified needs of your client. Okay, so what we're talking about is getting baseline data. Hard data is that which you can represent in numbers and in figures and accountability, such as in KPIs. So, for example, if you had a salesperson, they would have monthly performance targets, people targets, as you were just telling me about your business, the number of clients that you can manage and cope with. Then there's also the soft data, and I'll show you a method to work with people to identify the soft data. It's a similar process to the 360 that you do for the behavioural or leadership profiling instruments. So this would be based on the soft skills of their ability to lead, to communicate and manage change. So if you're up to Unit 10, you're up to the leadership unit, is that right?
Correct, yep.
And so what we want to do is have a look at our coachee's ability to inspire and motivate clients, to communicate upwards, downwards and sideways in the organisation, and to manage change projects better, keeping the people in mind, which often falls off the back of the truck, basically, when you're doing change initiatives. We just need to get this done, you know?
Yeah.
Result oftentimes the driver rather than the individual themselves.
Yeah.
And of course, along the way, you're going to look at change being something to do with innovation, the use of technology, that sort of thing. But of course, always looking at the interpersonal relationships in the team. And often if there's a change project, it might have people from different areas of the business, or it could have different stakeholders. So it's all about how the group dynamics and how we manage those interpersonal relationships. Okay, so here's an example. If you had a role of client as a finance director, so their hard data would be something like revenue forecast versus actual and the profitability ratios. And as I say, we'll talk further about how to measure the soft data. So you measure that at the start of the coaching for performance and then monthly for the next 5 months. So this is like pulse taking every month, particularly with the soft data, not necessarily, well, yes, of course, with the hard data as well. Now, you probably don't have access to the hard data, but a finance director would, or if you're working with a line manager, they can always tee that up with their finance director to let them have those figures, which I'm sure as a line manager they'd have access to. So what you do is prepare for the initial coaching session by gathering your data. there is a pre-session checklist, which we've gone through last time. And at an individual level, the data you might gather, you don't have to, would be their resume, their role description, an org chart, their individual performance plan if they have one, and oftentimes they don't, which is why you coach for development.
Yep.
The organisation's vision, mission, values, which you can get from a website or a strategic plan, and any personality profiling that has been done. If it's been done in the last 12 months, you can use it. If not, it's probably wise to actually have them do it again. Are you accredited any of those profiling tools?
Yeah, so I'm accredited with DISC, Workplace Motivators, Driving Forces, and Emotional Quotient.
Yes. Emotional quotient, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. At a team level, you can look at group targets and timelines, the role descriptions of other team members, their personality profiles. So for DISC, you would say, you could look at the joint profile of the team, see what the predominant forces are, and see if you have a team that's functional or dysfunctional, and if so, in what ways. LSI is very good for that as well. And
yeah, well, another thing that you can actually get a team profile through DISC as well.
Right. Okay. So there you go.
Yeah, not just I've got one client that we're looking at doing a group of 15 people,
Right.
and as well as the 15 individual profiles, you can get a team profile.
Excellent. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, with some of them, you can get an organisational culture profile too, like with LSI.
Yeah.
Did you do that with DISC?
Sorry?
Did you do that with DISC? Do they have an organisational profile?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what you gather everything that you can, and look at their annual report. That should be online anyway. Because if you gather the data, what gets measured gets done.
Yeah.
Now, for example, the work that I'm doing with leaders is that coaching skills are becoming part of the leadership capability requirement. And so they're automatically having to do the workshops, even if it's 2 hours or 2 days or whatever, to develop the coaching skills. And then you've got a baseline to get you going. We look at the initial coaching session. It's pretty much like we've been doing all along. So the first step is just, hey, what's been going on since we last met? Let's have a look at this profiling instrument. Let's debrief that if they haven't been debriefed on it.
Yep.
Any immediate concerns, and then you go into a coaching session. And this is coaching for performance, because there is a performance issue or something that they need to develop a better skill around, or solve a problem, for example, and you would know perfectly well how to go through those processes from coaching.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, this is a self-report. So this is how we gather the soft data. So we gather it by self-report first of all, and then by other report, and then we collapse the data. So in your Unit 13, you'll have an example of this that you can pull out and use with your clients if you wish.
Okay.
It's a monthly assessment. So it just says, from your estimate on a scale of 1 to 5, have you demonstrated excellence in leadership skills and by example? What's your estimate of how you've done that this month? Have you demonstrated excellent communication skills? Demonstrated excellent interpersonal and relationship skills? Know how to and manage change effectively. Make a significant contribution to innovation and product systems development. So that's the first step, where they just do that little self-reflection, self-check, and mark a box. And you'd hope as time goes on that they will grow in their knowledge and their ability to do these sorts of things. You'll also ask them, what have been the most significant learnings for you in the past month, and what areas continue to challenge you? And there's a couple more questions on that as well. So it's just a little one-pager. You can use any sort of pre-template that you want to use.
Yep.
And coaches use various templates. That's really up to you.
Yep.
But this one gives you a numerical base for moving forward from that first 5 items. And then you look at the reviewers. So if you get, similar to this, 8 reviewers, up, down, sideways, who will be prepared to mark these checks, 5 boxes, once a month for 6 months, then, that's a commitment, but it doesn't take long either. And they can give you their marks. So what you do is you aggregate their responses, and then you look at the average, and then you compare that month's self-report with that month's other report. And that gives you an idea of how they've developed their soft skills.
Yep.
Okay, all right with that?
Yeah. Yep.
So those are 2 tools in there. And together with that, there's various ways to capture the SMART goals. And I've mentioned before about Coach Accountable. You can use an Excel spreadsheet. You can do it any way you like. But it's just on a week by week basis. Let's say you've got 5 goals. I've only got 3 there, but let's say you've got 5 goals. Which one are you working on? I'm working on goal 1, 2, and 5, something like that. And this week I'm going to focus on goal 1 for the next 4 weeks, goal 2 for the next 4 weeks, or whatever. So you can use your urgent and important matrix if you wish to. And it's simply, if you use an Excel spreadsheet or even a Word document, they can simply report that to you as part of their accountability at the end of each week, if that's what you wish. And you just receive an email from them. You don't have to comment on it, although you probably would write back and say, gee, that's great, it's good progress. Or you might have a question they would ask you. Say, Ian, look, I got stuck on this, blah, blah, blah. So it's another way to communicate on a weekly basis with your clients and just keep in touch with them. Okay?
Yes.
So that's it. They're the hard data and the soft data that you collect as baseline data before you get into a coaching scenario. Easy enough to do, simple to do, and what it does is allow you to measure and evaluate the success of coaching. Now, why would you want to do that? You tell me.
Data tells a story.
It does. And who does it tell the story to?
To both of us.
Both of you and?
And any other person that they're responsible to. So there's accountability for the role that they're and whoever's paying for the coaching. Yep.
Exactly. So we call that their manager is called the sponsor in ICF terms.
Yes.
So the organisational sponsor would get that report. Now, at the end of each coaching program, at least perhaps midway through it, they will want a report. And of course, you don't give a report. But what you can show, and with the approval and permission of your coaching, you can show some improvement in hard data or soft data if you wish.
Yeah.
Or you simply talk to the coachee and say, look, I need to give this update. This is what I'm planning to say. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
And that's all you need to do. And of course, it's like just a one-page summary that you just expand on a little bit. It's probably only a half an hour meeting because let's face it, managers don't often have much more time than that. It's not a big deal to them, but they just want to know that their coaching is on track and that you're doing a good job and it's all going smoothly. Or if it's not, they ask why.
Yeah.
So the third part of the coaching model is we've looked at coaching for performance. Now we're looking at coaching for development. So as I say, if there's no performance issue, just skip over that and just go straight into the development. What you want to do is help that person in their long-term career to be sustainable in the workplace, to be marketable, to be employable, to stand out from the crowd, to have some degree of expertise, because we know from the units that you're going through, or you will go through very shortly, that having the power of an expert is as good as the power of an authority position. So if you have an expertise in, say, legal or accounting or IT or change management. I mean, change management has now morphed into its own niche job.
Yep.
What we hope and what we're seeing more of is that the role of internal coach is becoming an internal job within an internal coaching team. Hasn't got there yet, but it is morphing in some of the bigger organisations who have those international affiliations and who understand more about coaching and how good coaching can be for individuals, both from a performance and a development perspective. So the first step in that coaching for development is to, rather than a problem, as you know from your coach training, you're simply looking to identify a specific learning or development need, setting some goals and developing an action plan. Pretty simple stuff. It's how you get down to it. We've got some executive coaches now working, I think I might have mentioned, in one of the mining companies locally, and what they're doing with each of the directors is developing an individual development plan with them and then keeping them accountable every month. And that has then taken further impetus with some of those directors who, after their initial 6 months of training, have asked our coaches to step into their teams and to actually do follow-up work in the teams.
Right, okay.
Nice to see. So that's the way to go. It would be great to do. Okay, so the purpose of coaching for development is to look at a number of areas. One is career development, skill acquisition if you need it. And that's not to say that the coach has to have that skills. In fact, you don't. You have to be able to then work with the client to say, well, who's the best resource to help you do that? So I just come back from a professional coach training program in Perth, and it was lovely speaking with those people over there, and one in particular, who's got some issues around about, for example, health issues or weight-related issues. Now, the coach didn't have a clue, the person who was coaching him, but together they were able to say, well, what resources do you need? And so he was saying, well, probably a checkup with the GP would be a good idea. And he had already done that.
Yep.
And the GP had suggested a nutritionist or a naturopath or a dietitian that he would go and see, and an exercise physiologist. So those are the sorts of skills and expertise that we don't have, but we can actually, refer on to the GP in the initial instance, which was a great thing to do, and the GP knows who to refer on from there. The next big part of organisational reasons for development is the talent management. So we know from the ICF reports on developing a coaching culture that the people who are engaged will stay and maintain in an organisation. So, perhaps these days it's like a 3-year life term, employee term in an organisation before they've been there, done that, and they want the next step.
Yeah.
Now, it's possible within a succession plan for them to take the next step or have an opportunity for further growth and development. That's great. Move into related divisions or do supervisory or management positions. But if not, it may be they're stepping out into a different organisation. But you don't want that to happen because you spend a lot of time and money in getting them into the business and working with them, getting to know them. So you want to keep them as much as possible. And that's where, if you provide them with some executive coaching to help them to get the best they can out of the organisation work that they're doing, find meaning and purpose again in a new role or in a different project team, for example. This is where a coach gets the best benefit from the client gets the best benefit from the coach. And it may be that they need to undertake a course of study or something like that. And sometimes these relationships can morph into mentoring if you have that industry experience or background.
Yeah.
You have to. And if you don't, you think they need a mentor, you can actually suggest that they might actually look at that and find somebody in the organisation or external to the organisation who could be their mentor, and you could still be their coach.
Yeah.
Because, as I said before, mentors can often coach, but coaches don't often mentor, because coaching is an eclectic paraprofession. It's like a meta profession. It sits across lots of industries, lots of jobs. It doesn't have to know anything about what that person is doing, as we've discussed many times. So you don't need to be the one who's got experience in that exact same organisation or industry or role, because using your coaching skills, you're content free.
Yeah.
So that's why we coach for development. So we arrange a pre-meeting for both of these, as we've talked about. We gather the information, first of all, from all available sources. We identify any essential knowledge and skills. So once again, it's a triangular meeting with their manager or their sponsor to say, okay, this guy's or this gal's good at this, that, and the other. What is it that you would hope that they would develop in terms of knowledge or skills or experience? And you develop a range of the learning and development needs, okay? Which when you meet with them, you sit down and you confirm those needs. Now, once again, in that first meeting, and I still encourage you to have that meeting with the sponsor, you'll get a feel for that person. You'll get a feel whether there's a match for you or not. And if there's not, that's the time to sort of say, hey, I don't know whether I'm the best person. And there's a bit of a chemistry going on between us.
Sure.
So get a feel for that. Now, when you meet with people, Ian, do you get that feeling, and how often do you not get a feeling that I can work with them?
Oh, look, I won't coach someone who I don't, get some synergy with. You kind of know if there's a lot of trouble before you start with someone, there's going to be a lot more after you start. So it's better to just find someone that's more matched to who they are. Yeah. I find a lot of times it's about respect. You can tell fairly quickly whether someone respects you as their coach, and if they do, then generally good synergy will come out of that. But if they're, I think I've been through. We go through a coach acrostic, which is just CLACH. Firstly, they want change. Secondly, that they're open to new ideas. Thirdly, that they'll be accountable. Fourthly, that they're courageous. And lastly, H is that they'll be honest. And I just share that they've got to be honest with me. Otherwise, we're changing things that don't need to be changed and not changing things that do need to be changed. So, yeah.
And you get that feel in the first meeting?
Oh, we do. Yeah, look, there's been 2 people where I've said to them, I said, I don't think I'm the right coach for you. I think you should try somebody else. And you know, I'm probably more confident. I think in the first year of coaching, you just say yes to everybody
Yes.
until you learn who to say no to.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
but it's important that you feel comfortable with them and vice versa.
Oh, yeah. The chemistry's got to be there.
Absolutely, and that respect too.
Yeah.
So then the next step, of course, is to set their goals, do that individual development plan, work out their actions, and look at any barriers and constraints, and then look at a report session and what's appropriate to report on, given what the sponsor has asked for. So all the usual things, it's just following through with that. So there you go, plan and deliver. That's what we've talked about. And then we need to follow up. So once again, it's that accountability space. The other thing I guess to mention here is when you're summarising and closing, and you're looking at how committed they are to taking those steps that they have decided to take. And you're also looking at the success of each coaching session. So has this worked out for your client? What hasn't worked? What have we missed? And how committed are you to following through?
Yeah.
So this is a recording of the summary session. And as I mentioned, and you probably may already do, first of all, we teach you how to do it. And then as the client becomes more able, you may get the client to do the summary sessions, except if it's a really emotive one, then I suggest you do it.
Yeah.
You send them the summary or they send it to you. Touch base with them on a weekly basis with something that's quite a motivational or recent article or something to keep that connection alive. And as I said, if they were doing that goal setting with you and sending you something every week, that would take the weight off you and you'd know where they are in terms of their progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you in your coaching ask for a weekly update from your clients?
Not unless they have set some goals that are due for that week.
Okay.
I try and push from my end, but I also encourage them by trying to pull them towards me as well. So it's that push-pull dance that we have, and it really depends on the client. It depends on the issue, the urgency of the issue, the importance of it.
Yeah.
It's a matter of just gauging, how quickly do we need to connect and who's the best person to do it? Is that something that you need to do, or shall I just monitor that and yeah.
Okay.
And then if they don't come through with it, then my responsibility is to actually go back and say, hey, what's going on here? So yeah. How many coaching sessions would you do a week roughly?
1 week I do 10, and 1 week I do 14. Yeah. So the other one, the week 10, the week that I have 10 on, we're just about to add another person to.
Right. Yeah, I used to tank out at about 8. I thought that was pretty good for me. So you're doing very well.
Yeah. So, but I just finish it. 25 is enough. Because I don't work Mondays, so Monday's my day off. So,
that's good.
And I don't coach weekends either.
No, I don't either. Is it every fortnight then that you see people?
Yeah, so we work fortnightly. A month is too long. Too much is forgotten in a month, and a week is too quick. No, it doesn't allow any time to change anything. So, so I find a fortnight works really well. We have one client that we meet with monthly. Only that at present they're having a meeting with a psychologist on the opposite fortnight.
Okay.
So we've come back. We've come back for 6 months. We've come back just to meeting once a month.
Yeah, just to keep in touch. And
in
organisational settings where you're coaching for development, it's typically about monthly.
Okay.
They're so busy.
Yes.
And because they know they need to work on their development plan anyway, so they're pretty committed.
Yes. It's a different style in executive than bits.
It would be different if it was coaching for performance and there was urgency and you had to turn that person around or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. So, I try to send a weekly reminder. You're very good at doing your monthly motivation spots on Facebook.
Yeah. We do that each week. So.
Yeah. And you send it out through your own CRM, I presume?
Yes.
Okay. So then we need to also monitor their actions and make sure that they're keeping accountable to themselves and to us, and obtain feedback on their coaching program from those monthly reviewers, as I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Really your yardstick, I guess, your as to what's working, what's not working, if things are stagnating, why are they stagnating? And if it's a perception out there, what's causing that perception to happen? with the people kind of moving forward. There's opportunities for lots of conversation around that.
Yeah.
Okay, so for individuals, when you're negotiating a program of executive coaching, how often would you like to be coached? So if this is an individual, it's up to them, but you've decided on a fortnight, that's fine. It's whatever works.
Yeah.
It's right or wrong. Yeah. If there's anything that I'm learning from, my studies and my research is that there's no right way, and everyone does it different, and it doesn't matter as long as you get the outcome for the client.
Yep.
Some people start with, what's your budget? How much have you got? How much can you afford? Over what period of time would you like to work that? And then you can work that in, that's it. And when would you like to start? So that's it, the main thing. If it's working with an organisational sponsor, the first thing you want to know is whose idea was it for you to be coached? Was it yours or your manager's?
Yeah.
And for that reason. And get them on the page with you or with the manager. Do you believe that coaching will be a good use of your time?
Yeah.
And we spoke about this at the last workshop, what happens if you get someone who's just sent. So one of our people there had, I think she had responsibility for 27 people.
Wow.
In his band. So she was getting to them once a month.
Yeah.
And she was concerned that, there were a couple of people there who were resisting her coaching. And it wasn't that she was coaching because they were pretty much senior people in the organisation. But she was doing, this is where we're at and this is a progress report and how can I help you and what's happening. So it really was very light on coaching. And I think, where we got to was that 22 out of the 27 were doing great.
Okay.
And she was focusing on the 5. So then we got it in the 5. Well, there were probably 3 who would be amenable to her doing something differently, which was they weren't doing their actions. So just waiting for them to report to her and come the next month and saying, I'm not doing my actions. What she decided to do was that she would go to them on the due dates and say, has it happened yet? If not. And she thought that 3 of the 5 would be amenable to her following up with him. But there would be 2 sticky, prickly ones that would not be amenable to that.
Yeah.
And we decided that she was doing a successful job for 25 out of the 27, and that the other 2 it was not her responsibility to be, looking out for them and their outcomes. That responsibility lay with the CEO. So her responsibility lay to reporting to the CEO on the fact that she had 22 great ones, 3 who were coming around, and 2 that she was having difficulty with, and that was where she should lead.
Yeah.
It wasn't her responsibility to get those people on board the agenda.
Yeah.
They chose not to get on board, and of course some of it was that the reward structure was the same for 27 of them, whether they did anything and got their targets or not.
Yeah.
That was part of the problem, obviously.
Yeah.
But we talked about, one of the questions we asked, the powerful question is, for what part of this am I responsible? Okay. So we worked that through with her, and she wasn't responsible for the outcome of those people. They were responsible to the CEO for meeting their targets or not meeting their targets.
Yep.
That was the biggest aha moment for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody today, I was talking to one of our coaches from Melbourne, executive coaches. He was talking about, I've just lost my train of thought again there. He was talking about the power of the powerful question. Because when I did a workshop with him in Melbourne, that's fine. He's now gone coaching into the Asian market, and he's asking more powerful questions than ever of very senior people at government level, and finding that he's getting really, really good results by using more powerful questions.
Yeah.
So it does work.
Yes, it sure does.
Okay, another question. What level of importance do you give to your own growth and development? That's a really good one, because oftentimes we look after everybody else and we don't look after ourselves. We don't take time for ourselves. And once again, that was another issue that came across in the workshop recently. I want more me time. I want some me time. And I'm giving to husband, work, kids. What about me? And that was one of the hardest conversations that this lady was able to have with her husband, to say, I need 2 hours a week for myself. Not much to ask for, but it's so hard sometimes to ask for it if you don't have the right words.
Yeah.
And are you fully committed to achieving the outcomes that we develop together through your coaching program? And of course, if they're not fully committed and on board, what's the barriers, what's getting in your way, what will help you to be more committed, etc., etc. Anything on that one, Ian, from you?
No, there's some really great questions there, and I can think of two clients that I work with who are business owners, not executives in that regard. But
Same applies.
same applies. Yeah, and yeah, there's one particular guy who's, I think his wife is very keen for him to be coached, and he hasn't really come on board yet.
Yeah.
So and if he mucks around anymore, we'll be full anyway. But it's. Yeah, I hopefully will meet with him this week, so I'll be using all those questions.
Excellent. And if not, you might suggest to the wife that she might like to be coached.
Oh, well, she's currently being coached by someone else in Sydney.
Oh,
yeah.
Good. Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, there's group team coaching programs. So a lot of what we're finding at the moment is within the leadership space that they're calling it group coaching, which is where in a leadership workshop they're putting coaching skills into that leader. So not so that the leader becomes a coach as such, like you're going through, which is an intensive training program, but that at least they get the listening, the reflection, the questioning, the asking, not telling. Even if they get those sort of an approach, that will help with performance coaching, which of course now is morphing into a monthly performance coaching within each individual direct report. But then again, with 27, it's hard. Sometimes when you've got a matrix organisation, like you've got a operational base here in Australia and you've got a corporate base in the US, that's harder still. But if you have an area of expertise that you need to be having a dual reporting function, that's probably the best thing you can do. However, I found that some organisations are having a huge span of control, like 50 people spread over 3 continents. Amazing stuff. And it becomes a little bit impossible, you would think. However, the thing is, it's a catch-22. If you don't do performance coaching or coaching on a monthly basis with your people, they don't improve. You're always giving them a fish.
Yeah.
So I was talking to another guy who's one of the executive coaches in my network, and he also is doing studies in the PhD at UQ. He was out of the army, and in the army position they had was a rotation over 2 years. So every 2 years they would change. And in those 2 years, he said to himself, what could I do and leave as a legacy to my team? And he had been trained in coaching. He'd done the level 1 accreditation and became an ACC. So he sat down and he started to coach his direct reports. And you can imagine in the army, this was unheard of because it was all yes sir, no sir, 3 bags worth of. And here he was talking to them like a regular guy and asking them what they thought. And then he would, in a monthly meeting, instead of having the chairs facing him, he would make a circle with his coach, with his direct reports, and they would sit around and chew the fat. You can imagine army personnel sitting around in a circle chewing the fat. But over the period of 2 years, he taught them how to do it, and they started to do it internally with each other as well. So he was building up their peer coaching ability.
Yep.
And after the 2 years, and even now he says that he's been left for 3 years, I think, he still gets emails from the original team, how they're working with their teams now. And so it's cascading through the leadership in a different way to lead their teams in the army. Nice story.
Very, very good. Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful? And this is what inspires me to keep going and get going and, keep saying, hey, this stuff works.
Yes, yeah.
The more we can get into the leadership arm and really start to influence it out. So if you were, though, to do some pure coaching, and some of the people I know in executive roles, particularly in the government sector, are able to do pure coaching, which is what I call the ICF stuff, where it's content-free, which we've talked about. So it's about, what's happening for you. It's just asking questions. It's not telling at all. And it's just going to the person inside, say, how are you going? What are your thoughts? What's happening?
Yeah. What's
working for you? So it's nothing about your performance. It could be about your career, but it's just pure coaching from a space of curiosity and consciousness of you as a person and a presence with you, which is magical stuff. And it just, as I said to everyone, if you can achieve an insight in each coaching session, it's magical, and that's what keeps you going. And that's what we aim you to do as our students and our graduates. But if you had the opportunity to do a pure coaching session, and if it was in the organisational setting, and if it was about say leadership, what sort of skills would a leader require? What sort of competencies would a strategic leader in this case require? They need decision-making skills on the spot, straight away. Give me the data, give me a recommendation. Okay, I'll make this decision, because oftentimes that's all the time they've got to make a decision. They don't have days or weeks. It has to be done now.
Yeah.
And when I worked at the executive level with the ministerial office, there were decisions that were coming through the door pretty much hour by hour that, okay, minister's got to make a decision now. We've got to make a decision based on what we know to advise the minister. And away you go. You know, it just doesn't, you just don't have much time, and you've got to live with those decisions. So if we can provide them with the best tools and the best strategies for making decisions, that's what our job is.
Yes.
And there are some tools that you'll come across for helping to make decisions, whether depending on the type of decision to be made, who needs to be involved, the outcome and the importance of the outcome, as to whether you can have a shared decision-making process or a consultative, collaborative decision-making process, or whether you've simply got to say, right, I'm in charge, I'm the authority figure, I'm going to make a decision.
Yeah.
Communication, of course, is always an issue in organisations. So how do we manage communication? How do we influence where we can't command, basically, where we can't have the authority, but we can influence certainly. So we're looking at circles of control and circles of influence, and knowing where we are with that particular instance and whether we have the authority to make a decision and to communicate in this way, or whether we need to do it in consultation with others. Negotiation is another skill that it comes in very handy if you're in a contract basis, if you're supplier agreements, that's with purchase orders. Fantastic. Conflict resolution is everywhere. It needs to happen day, night, each team, every team. It's always just ready to pop its head up. So having skills in how to manage all of that, and you know, your coaching skills have prepared you very well for that. Managing upwards is part of that communication, I think, but it's also about managing yourself and your career so that you are positioned in the best spot to take the next step. And that next step comes probably, if you're looking at a 3-year spread, it comes probably about year 2. Year 1's probably, okay, settling into the role, making your mark, influencing, working out who's doing the zoo, getting some runs on the board, meeting your targets. That's your first year. The second year, starting to build on that, looking for opportunities and to expand on your resume and beef that up. And then the third year, you're probably looking at, okay, where to from here? It might be a shorter circle than now, but I think that's still open to an in-head timeline to work on with a client. And of course, networking, always important, both internally and externally. Keep your options open. See who's out there who can help and support you. See who's got the expertise that you don't have, and where and how you can collaborate with them. So that's the best for you and the best for them, and the best for both the organisations. Any questions, comments on that one?
No, there was a lot of good content in that. Heaps. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're at an end. Okay. So, any other questions, comments that you might have?
No, look, a lot of what you said is good, and we do quite a mixture of the coaching for business and the pure coaching. We just had a client come in the other day, and there was some further subject that we were going to draw on from the previous session about developing his marketing plan. Mm-hmm. However, that day he just felt totally down and out, and he was just exhausted, wanted to give up. So we just spent the whole session just going through him personally. Nothing to do with marketing, business, anything like that, just helping him get back onto his track. And the following morning, he sent me an email just thanking me for the session, but then also said, oh, and by the way, I've finished those 3 marketing campaigns and I'll have them to you this afternoon. And it was just simply his brain had to be unblocked.
Exactly.
And it was all the other stuff in front of what he needed to do that just needed to be explored on that day. So
and good on you for staying with his agenda, if that's what you need to do as a coach.
Yeah, look, it's so critical just to get the whole person over the line, and where you can't find balance, you can find harmony. Yes. And that's our biggest strive now. We even say to a lot of our clients, look, we're not even going for balance. All we're just going is that you would have a harmonious relationship between your personal and professional life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, going for balance is just an outdated concept. There's no
Yeah,
way.
it's impossible.
It's impossible. No. It's
Yeah,
just living in the world as best we can and having a beautiful life ourselves and
yeah,
hopefully enriching the life of those around us.
yeah,
That's where it's coming from.
yeah.
Okay. All right, Ian, thank you so much for tonight. And we
Thank
can
you.
take a break now and come back on the 10th of September.
Yes,
When we do that, we'll be reinvigorated and I've had a nice break. And I plan to have a bit of a break in July, August, and
good.
get through a few things of my own, and then come out with the next thing. I just might preview and see what you have an opinion of. We're looking at developing an advanced diploma in
Okay.
executive and leadership and our new career transition courses. What do you think of that notion of taking the next step?
Oh, I'd be very excited about it. I don't plan on stopping learning, so I want to pick up those business units after I finish this one.
Yeah.
But I'd be more than excited about doing more study down the line. So
It'll take a different form. What we're envisaging is it won't start till 2019, next year, and there'll be 2 intakes, one in February and one in August, for a 6-month period where you will do a fly in, fly out to Brisbane for 3 weekends, a month apart, and then there'll be 3 personalised coach mentoring sessions with you
uh-huh.
for the following 3 months. And out of that, the outcome will be that more executive coaching or whatever your stream is, so more expertise in that area with coaching practice. The second outcome will be learning how to get a plan together to implement a coaching culture in the organisation. And the third one will be to do a research report around your area of expertise so
Right.
that you really dive deep into your knowledge base as an executive or a leader or a career transition coach. How does that sound?
Very good.
All right, so that's what I'll be working on in the next 6 months. So
Yep.
there you go. All right, we'll love and leave you there, and
Yep.
enjoy yourself in the next little while. And I look forward to seeing all of the rest of your assessments coming through by September and meeting up again with you in September for the workshop.
Yeah. Look, thanks so much again. I hope you have a great break and all the best with your doctorate.
Oh yeah, I've got to get that finished in the next 4 to 6 weeks. I'm aiming to get that done. I will get that done.
Good.
Okay. Good
All
night.
right.
Bye for
Thanks,
now.
Susan.
Bye.
Good night.